So Tim, that you gave the example of seeding about a half acre per load. Based on the demonstration you did, just how many handfuls of seed does that take to do a half acre?
Well, basically I'll use this in order when I establish how much seed. For slurry seeding, we've been using the same amount of seed in the slurry tank as we use in a drill. So if I want 12 pounds per acre of annual rye and I know I've got 3,000 gallons in the tank and my application rate is 6,000 gallons, I know that I've got manure for a half an acre, so that's 6 pounds of annual ryegrass seed. I'll dump that in the pail, wet it up, and it's ready to go when the tank gets back.
Okay, that was kind of a facetious one. With the fracturing that the airway does, it seems like some of the seed would be down deeper than what you wanted. Elaborate a little bit what kind of stands that you've seen using this technique.
Well, we've had excellent stands, really much better stands than I had initially hoped for establishing a cover crop. Basically, we're not using an engineered seed bed. We're just roughening the soil, creating cracks and fissures, and letting the seed-laden slurry carry that seed down into the soil. We've seen crops or plants coming up from as deep as 3 or 4 inches through cracks and fissures. So, you know, it works very well. The seed finds a suitable site and it goes from there. So it's a little different concept or a little different idea of what is a suitable seed bed.
Yeah. If we're looking at for a commercial application doing this, what's the downside? Is the amount of time it takes to add the seed
Well, I think for a commercial application, I think it's although we don't need a lot of time here, and as long as we're organized, and by that I mean we could have the seed weighed out ahead of time, have seed weighed out and bagged or somehow, or have a calibrated pail or something that we just have to jump off and fill the pail up to that line that we need for 1 tank, and then we'll have to throw a ladder up alongside while the tank is filling, jump up and spill it into the tank. I mean, it is another step. It's something that takes a little planning, but on the other hand, if we could do this all in one operation, I mean, that's, you know, we're putting manure out anyway. If we can get a cover crop and trap those nutrients, you know, it saves us an operation of possibly loosening the soil with a tillage operation, coming back through and drilling, you know, at a time when we're very pressed, you know, to get these jobs done, you know, because we're competing, and all these jobs compete at the same time of year.
Exactly. Any types of manure that you would caution that need to be checked or anything like that?
Well, as far as the new manures, we've used a lot in Michigan. We use a lot of our dairy manure. We've used swine manure, and we have had good success with everything that we've used so far. Now, we have though looked for some what we call hot swine manure. Swine from a finishing barn with wet dry feeders. You know, there's not a lot of excess water in there. High nitrogen content as far as the fertilizer. As far as the fertilizer capability, it's very good. But we have seen what I think is salt damage in those types of situations. But we've actually had to go looking for that type of manure. But as far as our dairy, our beef manure, and most swine manure, we've had great success with those types of
and
stands.
How's been the success as far as high clay soils, sandy soils, wet, dry?
You know, we've worked a range of soils from some loamy sands all the way up to some clay loams, and it's worked quite well. We haven't seen big differences based on soil type. I mean, of course, we need rain. I mean, it's like seeding any other crop. We need rain. We need suitable situation, suitable conditions. But we haven't seen this method being highly sensitive to the soil types that we're working on.
Are you seeing more growers adopting this technique?
Well, there's a lot of interest in it. We've been using it to get cover crops in livestock operations. We've used it to get cover crops like oilseed radish that suppresses sugar beet cyst nematode in some of our sugar beet rotations up in the Saginaw Valley, which are in dire need of manure and low disturbance tillage, and some of the things that we know have an impact on soil quality. So it's really turning out to be quite versatile, and we're also using it as a pasture renovation tool. We've incorporated both orchard grass and red clover in grass hays, and we've had better stands with this than we had with broadcasting the red clover, which is a pretty typical renovation procedure in Michigan.
Right. Can this procedure be modified to use with a dry gluing?
Well, my colleagues in Ohio State are working on that. Jim Horman and Mark Burning have been working on that to get it into the drag lines, and it looks like they're going to be successful. That'd be great for a lot of these areas. We don't use a lot of drag lines in Michigan because we've got smaller fields that are a little bit more spread out. It'd be perfect for some of these larger acreages that do a lot of drag lines to get these cover crops in immediately to take advantage of the nutrients, begin growing, trapping those nutrients, stabilizing the soil, building soil quality, all the things that we're really after with this type of a process.
Yeah. Tim, traditional thinking says that the Midwest and especially Michigan is way too far north for cover crops.
Well, being north is a little bit of a challenge. We have to look for opportunities. In some rotations, for instance our sugar beet rotations, now is the time when I like to get cover crops in a sugar beet rotation. I can go in with oilseed radish following wheat, and they've got all kinds of time. Or Oriental mustard is another crop that we've had good success with in front of a sugar beet rotation, because both those crops have what we call biosuppressive properties. But on the other hand, in Michigan, we've got a lot of corn silage. A lot of corn silage is coming off the end of August, early September. There's plenty of time to establish annual ryegrass. Jumps quick, rye jumps quick, wheat jumps quick for a cover crop, and even some of our others, we can still in most years get a good cover crop with this method. So there are opportunities, but it does get a little more challenging.